right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another round of Touchdown Times. We have episode 15, preview week 12 going on. We had a lot of great football happening this past weekend. Some of the people went to games, some nail biters, and another exciting week of football. So I'm real excited to talk football. How are you feeling today, Savvy Sav?
I'm feeling fly like an eagle. Let's go birds, baby. Doing great, man. Had a great weekend of football to talk about. Turkey Day's coming up, so we got like a full slate of football coming up, and really stoked to get a chance to talk about that. So yeah, man, just feeling on top of the world right now.
There it is, man. Yeah, a lot of football going on this Thursday for Thanksgiving. So we'll be sure to go over those games, and it'll be good to spend some time with family and watch some football. This week we're gonna get into our special guest, which I'll introduce in a second. We'll do a Week 11 recap, followed by Week 12 preview. Talk a little bit about fantasy football, how Savvy Sav and my team are doing this year, and some of the leagues that we're in. Then we'll get into the betting segment. We'll have some bets for you, some underdogs and things like that. Then we'll get into our trivia question, which is a Rams-based trivia question for our guests. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guest. We have Johnny Bruno. How are you doing today, Johnny?
Hey man, I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. Of course, man. We'll get into a little bit of an interview segment. But I guess first and foremost, why do you love football? Where did that stem from?
Man, I love football because when I was a kid, my grandma used to actually take me out and throw the football with me when I was a little kid, and we would play with all the other neighborhood kids. And I got to really enjoy the sport. I think it's a beautiful sport. It's really exciting, and I played just as a kid, so ever since then, I've always loved it. I love watching it. It's a great sport.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. And I know you're a big sports guy. You're the sports director over there at the school. So you're in charge of a lot of sports, right?
Yeah, so I'm an athletic director at a middle school, but we don't have football. So I wish we did. We have a sports club where we let the kids play football, but it's not like actually official. So
Gotcha. I know back at our middle school when we were in middle school, they did a flag football type of thing that went on. Might be something to consider because I know you like football. But
yeah.
who's your team and why? A little bit of a story time. How did you choose your team? And let the audience know a little bit more about your team and why they became your team.
Yeah, so growing up, my family, they were all Raiders fans. And I remember, watching the Raiders with them all the time, and the Raiders were always losing. And so I kind of always made fun of my family, like, why do we watch the Raiders? The Raiders suck. And
Uh,
I remember my uncle Joey, he used to watch he wasn't really like he was a Raiders fan, but he also kept an eye on certain players. And he always liked to watch Peyton Manning on the Colts. So for a while I was like, well, you know what? I don't really want to support the Raiders. So I'm gonna kind of just watch Peyton Manning. I like him, he's a great quarterback. And so for a while I was a Colts fan. And then
Interesting.
and then Peyton Manning went to I think he went to the Broncos,
Yeah.
the Denver Broncos. So I was kind of like, I don't really like the Broncos. And then the Rams came to LA, and that's when I was like, well, LA's finally got a team. So I think I'm gonna adopt the Rams as my team. So I guess you could call me a bandwagoner because I just kind of jumped on the bandwagon when they came to LA. But I was really happy that LA finally had a team. So that's why I'm a Rams fan.
Nice,
That's
man.
awesome. That's awesome.
I wouldn't even call that bandwagon. I would say that's they were the original LA team too before, so it's like they just came back and to get to have a home team to represent and be a part of. And I'd say they really won the Super Bowl because they went all in. But before that, they were struggling. They had like one of the top picks, and they ended up getting uh Jared Goff. So it all varies. But yeah, man, how did it feel winning that Super Bowl? What was that?
Oh
What was that
man, it
like?
was it was like I think it was the peak NFL experience for me because not only were they playing in LA, but you also got to see like my favorite rappers perform
Mm.
during halftime. You got Snoop Dogg, 50
Yeah.
Cent, Eminem. So it was honestly a dream come true watching the Rams win that Super Bowl. in LA. It was pretty awesome. So.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, that was a great time. We talk about it sometimes on the show too, but that was just the Super Bowl. Me, Andrew, and Tristan and Michael, we all put money down on the Rams to win the whole thing, like back in October.
Oh
And
yeah.
seeing them finally get to there and actually win it, that was pretty cool to see. And we all got super hyped because we won some good money off that too. So yeah,
Yeah.
man. Great time for that one. Great time. Well, they put it all in, put all the chips in the bag to try to win that Super Bowl, and they did, but now they're kind of paying the price for that. How are they doing this year? And what's your outlook for them the rest of the season and where they might be?
Yeah, this year I thought they were going to do a lot better. They barely squeaked by in their win against the Seahawks this past Sunday. I feel like a lot of it has to do with, in part, injuries. But even with like Cooper Cup back and the new guy, Puka Nakua, it feels like they're not playing their best. I don't really know who to blame or if there's any one player you can blame. Sometimes I feel like we should have kept Jared Goff because he's been going off with the Detroit Lions. But I don't know. Matthew Stafford, he's a pretty good quarterback. I just feel like he's inconsistent, I guess. So as far as like how they're going to do for the rest of the season, it's tough to tell. I hope they at least make it to the playoffs. But it's hard to say. What do you guys think? You think the Rams are going to do well the rest of the season?
I like them. I think their offense is great. Granted, there's some inconsistency with Stafford. I mean, he's just injury prone now. He's aging, but I mean, Cooper Cup, Puka Nakua. Once you guys get Kyron Williams back, I think you guys have a strong offense there. Yeah, it's just a tough division. Seahawks and 49ers are very hard to beat. And yeah, it's gonna be tough for the wild card, but I think with you guys playing Arizona this week and hopefully being able to take that, I mean, there's 7 teams allowed in the playoffs, so I think you guys have a shot. I do like you guys' team, and I root for them each time, especially because I invest a lot in fantasy too with them. So I'm
Oh yeah.
hoping they do pretty well. What about you, Andrew? What do you think of the Rams?
Yeah. I think they were plagued by injuries this year, right? And they all happened at different times with different players. And I think that's what makes it rough because you're never at a full 100% with your offense, right? Cooper Cup went down, Kyron Williams went down, Matt Stafford went down, and all at various different times throughout the season. So it's not like they had the full powerhouse of the Rams offense going, shooting off all cylinders. So yeah, I think they have a good offense, but I just don't think they've had the time to build that chemistry together and play consistently week in and week out.
Good point.
But like Eli said, there's 7 teams allowed in the playoffs, and you guys do have a hard division, but you guys just beat the Seahawks, so that may change things up. But we'll get into that when we do matchups for week 11. But yeah, I guess we'll take this time to transition straight into matchups of week 11. We'll do a little bit of a recap. I guess we'll start off strong. We'll go straight into the Super Bowl rematch. We have the Eagles taking on the Chiefs in Arrowhead. The Eagles came out on top 21-17. The Chiefs fall short and they go to 7-3 overall record, while the Eagles climb up to the 9-1 record, best in the NFL. I'm going to pass this one over to Savvy Sav. What were your thoughts on this one, man?
Man, I was nervous going into this, going into Arrowhead. Chiefs coming off a bye week. Those are 2 recipes for success for that team. And Eagles coming off a bye week too. And, I'm sure they were hyped and stoked to have a Super Bowl rematch. And yeah, honestly, they proved it to me on this one. I think the Eagles are back at true form. Man, yeah, the Chiefs not scoring at all in the second half was surprising to me. And there was a couple really bad drops that I definitely thought that could have helped them win this game. But that happens. It's kind of been their issue all year. And yeah, it kind of just worked out for the Eagles in this one. Jalen Hurts didn't have the best game in the air, but he got 2 rushes to go in for a touchdown. So I was very happy with that. Swift also looked like back to his normal self. Surprisingly, AJ Brown didn't do that much this game. I think they just had good coverage on him. And speaking of that too, Devontae Smith, he was the guy in this game too as well. Had 6 receptions, 99 yards. So very good game for him. But I'll give props to the Kansas City the rush defense and the pass defense as well.
Yeah.
I think they staffed us pretty well. They were able to get a lot of pressure on Hurts. And Yeah, that's how they were able to get to the Super Bowl last year by having a really good defense. So I think I'm going to be worried if we replay them possibly in the Super Bowl again. But yeah, I'm just happy we were able to get this one. So super hyped, man, super hyped. Well,
Nice.
did you watch this game, Johnny? What'd you think of it?
The Eagles and the Chiefs. I saw just the end part where Patrick Mahomes threw it to what's his name, Marquez
Scantly,
Scantley, and he dropped the ball.
crucial drop.
Vital, critical drop right there. Right, kind of lost in the game. But that was pretty much all I got to see.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll jump in here. Isaiah Pacheco looked really good in this game. The Eagles have a pretty good run defense, and Isaiah Pacheco, 19 carries, 89 yards. He just seemed consistent with running the ball and getting that positive yardage up against a tough run defense. I will say I was really worried, both as a fantasy manager and just for Jalen's safety as far as injury goes. They were getting to him all the time. I think he had 4 sacks in this game. Still was able to put up, good yardage through the air, 14 completions, 150 yards. And then, obviously the 2 touchdowns on the ground. But they were getting to the quarterback. Chandler Jones is definitely getting to the quarterback. Justin Watson, I don't know where he came from. I don't know where he came from as far as a wide receiver for the Chiefs, but 5 receptions, 53 yards, and a touchdown. And then Travis Kelce with a touchdown, even without Taylor Swift being in attendance. So she was on our Eras tour, but yeah, so it still was a great game overall, real close. And if Marquez, was to catch that, it definitely would have been a different game. But it was overall a nail biter and a real close game and a good Super Bowl rematch. And I'm starting to think the Eagles are the top team in the NFL right now, and they're the ones to beat. So yeah, they're taking on the gauntlet, man. They are taking on the gauntlet. We're gonna move into the Seahawks at the Rams. This is a game that Johnny actually went to, so I'll let him get into this. But the Rams came out on top, 17-16. Seahawks fall 6-4, and the Rams pick it up 4-6. How does that shake things up in the division for you? And what were your thoughts on the game, Johnny?
Yeah, so it was actually my first NFL game in person. So it was
Nice.
pretty exciting being there. We had pretty nice seats. The game was a wild game, like the way it ended. It was a pretty close game. Uh, the Seahawks could have gotten the W, but they missed a couple field goals. So you can say we kind of got lucky. I kind of question whether or not the Rams deserve to get the win, even as a Rams fan, because it didn't really look like they played that well. I feel like Matthew Stafford, like I said, he's kind of inconsistent. I really feel like he doesn't throw down the field enough. He kind of like does a lot of short passes. Looking at his stats, he had 17 completions, 190 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I mean, I don't know. What would you guys call? I would call that kind of average. Um, I feel like he could do better, but Puka Nakua, 5 receptions, 70 yards, that 1 touchdown. I'm really excited about him. Kind of a bummer that Cooper Cup is injured. I think he's out, right?
He's questionable for their next game. I think they said they're
Um,
gonna have to play by the week and see where he's at.
yeah, but overall, it was a fun game, and I hope to go back and see and watch him play again. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would agree with you. I think Matt Stafford, he has trouble throwing down the field, and I think it's more so just the offensive line giving him some time, because he was getting hit pretty often.
Yes, he
And that
did.
one hit, he got hit on that one, like,
That was a
oh
rock. He got rocked
yeah, he
there.
got rocked on
Did.
that one. But on the other end of the ball, they kept it real close. I think that like you said, they may have gotten lucky with missing a PAT and then missing the field goal towards the end of the game. But you guys came away with a win at home. Geno Smith looking pretty good, a little banged up, but 22 completions, 233 yards, 1 touchdown. News for fantasy owners out there: Kenneth Walker is injured and questionable going into next week's game. So Zach Charbonnet will be the lead back there. And, I think this was a hard game for him, in particular because of Aaron Donald and that defensive line. But he got 15 carries, 47 yards. DK Metcalf, I had him this week for fantasy. Really put up for me 5 receptions, 94 yards, 1 TD. Has some great long passes out there. But I'll turn this over to Savvy Sav. What were your thoughts on the Seahawks and the Rams?
I mean, I agree with all your guys' points. I do think the Seahawks kind of gave this one up. They definitely needed it, I think, for trying to keep in the contention with the Niners. But props to the Rams for staying in it and able to take it down and win at the end of the game. Sadly, yeah, it was rough to see Cooper Kupp go out so quickly. But I'm glad that it's not a serious injury and hopefully he's able to come back. Puka Nacua also looking solid as well. And I've been happy with him on one of my fantasy teams and just what he's done as a rookie and all the production he has. On the other side, I think this is Zach Charbonnet. If you've been holding on to him, I actually have him stashed in a couple leagues. So this is kind of the time where hopefully he can be the lead back there. He's a young guy, rookie, and I think he should be able to take a lot of production there. But yeah, overall, I mean, not a whole lot to say. Just Rams were able to do it. Seahawks kind of just gave it up in some bad spots. And I think, next week's going to be huge for the Seahawks playing against the 49ers. And same with the Rams. They're both in must wins now. So I think it'll be very interesting. But I think we highlighted this game last week saying, even though the Rams were, at 3-6 at the time, we still thought this would be a pretty close one. So yeah, happy to watch it. Happy to see it.
Yeah, definitely. Just before we move on to the next one, Johnny, can you go a little bit more into the atmosphere and your seats and like what your thoughts were just in like going to the game? I always like to see that.
And do you prefer watching it at home still or going to the game? Because sometimes it's a little hectic at the games. It's harder to see what's going on the field and
a bunch of drunk people sometimes.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. I mean, it was a great experience. Like being my first time, I was really happy to be there. The stadium is beautiful, SoFi Stadium. There was a lot of drunk people, and I wasn't drinking, so that was kind of interesting. I had guy standing right behind me, and he was really loud, kind of screaming in the back of my ear. At one point, even kind of like spit on my neck.
Oh no. Dang.
He was keeping everybody hyped up. He was a Rams fan. I think if he was a Seahawks fan, I wouldn't have stood for it. I would have accepted that. But it was fun, man. I really like the energy in the field. In the stands, like all the fans were hyped up, especially to see the Rams win. So it was a really cool experience and definitely something I want to go back and do again. So the seats were good too. The seats were really good. We were sort of like kind of behind the end zone, like off to the left a little bit, and it was not too far up, so they were pretty good seats.
Cool. Nice. We're gonna move into the Steelers at the Browns in Cleveland. This one was a tough matchup for the Steelers. They fall short 6-4 to the Browns that move on 7-3, literally by 3 points, a field goal. Very heartbreaking as a Steelers fan. I was watching this at home, and this was right before the Rams and the Seahawks game. So Johnny came over, and I had a few other friends over watching it, and this was just heartbreaking, right? Our offense couldn't get going. We were going up against a rookie quarterback that we should have put more pressure on. And it was just the only exciting, great thing about this game was Jaylen Warren proving that he should be the starter for the Steelers. And I think he's earned that spot. 9 carries, 121 yards, 1 TD, put the offense on his back. Kenny Pickett just wasn't getting it done on the ground. I think the first half he had maybe 57 yards through the air off of 5 completions. So it's just not something you can have. Every other quarterback's putting up close to 200 yards, if not 300, and Kenny's at 106. And I don't know if it's necessarily Kenny or if it's necessarily the play calling and Matt Canada, but we just fired Matt Canada this week, so there are going to be some changes as far as play calling and quarterback coaches. So looking forward to hopefully some offensive production from there. George Pickens had some work through the air, 4 receptions, 39 yards. But on the other end, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, he's looking pretty good as a rookie. 24 completions, 165 yards. He did have one interception, but it was still kept him in the game to win it. Kareem Hunt, 12 carries, 36 yards. Jerome Ford, 1 touchdown. Elijah Moore, 5 receptions, 60 yards. Very, very close game. I think we gave him back the ball with a minute and a half left to go, and they marched down to kick a field goal on us within the last minute. So heartbreaking as a Steelers fan, but I guess what were your thoughts on this one, Savvy Sav?
Overall, I think kind of just a stinky game, man. It's the Pittsburgh's offense, especially going up against the best defense in the league. It's definitely shows the holes there, kind of shows Kenny Pickett's bad side. But the run game was good, and I do give you props on that. Jalen Warren should be the guy now. He proved in this one, and I'm hoping that following forward they do continue to use him as the bell cow for them. But yeah, man, overall, just not a crazy exciting game, and both offenses kind of struggled throughout it. So I guess it's really whoever had the ball at the end and was able to take it down and get the field goal. So yeah, it just overall just a meh game. And I had a lot of faith in Pittsburgh. I put them down as one of my favorite bets at -3. I thought they'd be able to take on, especially going up against a third string quarterback like that. Like with their defense, I thought there'd be something there, but. Yeah, man, it's tough to see, and you guys are still in the hunt, especially with Joey B going down. So I think the Bengals, you should be able to handle them in your division. But I don't know, even going up against a team like the Browns and struggling like this, it's going to be a little rough. But I think you guys will learn from this and hopefully come back from that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Thoughts on this one? I know you caught the third quarter, maybe fourth quarter for this one, Johnny B.
I wanted to see the Steelers get the win, man. Sorry that it didn't happen, but maybe next week.
Yep. All right, we're gonna move on to the Raiders and the Dolphins. The Raiders take on the Dolphins in Miami. Dolphins come away with the win, 20 points over Raiders, 13 points. They fall to 5-6, and the Dolphins move on to 7-3 in the division. This one, the Raiders and the Dolphins, I thought it was a pretty close game going up until about the third quarter, fourth quarter. Aiden O'Connell played pretty good in this game, except for his interceptions. And I think that's what really kept the Dolphins in it. He had 3 turnovers. Other than that, 24 completions, 271 yards for a rookie quarterback facing a tough offense, and a tough defense too. Josh Jacobs, I expected more from him, especially as a fantasy manager. 14 carries, 39 yards. Not his best performance this week at all. But Devontae Adams stepped up, right? 7 receptions, 82 yards, 1 touchdown. It just wasn't enough to stifle the Dolphins. And the Dolphins had a great offense as well. Tua went for over 300 yards. I think he had 2 touchdowns. And Tyreek Hill is just a monster week in and week out for fantasy. 10 receptions, 146 yards, 1 touchdown. Savvy Sav, you got thoughts on this one here?
I mean, surprised the Raiders were actually able to keep up and keep it as close as they did. They kind of had a chance towards the end of the game to make it interesting, but yeah, Dolphins I think their offense is too potent. I agree with most of what you said. Man, I fucked up. I started Achane in 2 of my leagues, and I was pretty stoked for him to be back. And I thought this would be the game to do it against the Raiders, who have a pretty mad rush defense. So it sucks to see that he got hurt again, but they're saying it's not too serious. They play again on Friday, so it's kind of a quick turnaround. So I don't know what his status is on there, but I know a lot of people were hyped for him. So Raheem Mostert's going to continue to get a lot of the work, and if you're a fantasy manager with him, I'd say continue to start him. And yeah, I'll give my flowers for Devontae Adams finally making some production and putting. I don't know, if you have Devontae Adams, you may not be doing too hot in fantasy anyway. So hopefully, if you're fighting for playoffs, this is a good sign that maybe he will be the top target again, and I'll be able to do a lot more production there. But overall, Dolphins move on to 7-3, and they're 5-0 at home. It's a pretty good stat for them. So yeah, and surprisingly, Raiders are also kind of still fighting for maybe a wild card spot. So they're gonna have another tough matchup with the Chiefs next week, but yeah, we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, I think since the Raiders, fired their coach and have benched Jimmy G, I think that they've definitely gotten some momentum and some fire. Like they're staying close with these games, right? And this is a harder matchup for them. And I know they have the Chiefs coming up. It's divisional game for them, and they're going to be looking to come back and get a win on that. But it's going to be hard with the rookie quarterback. But I think it's definitely turned the culture and the momentum for the Raiders for the better. We'll see what happens when they take on the Chiefs next week. But we'll move straight into the Bears and the Lions. The Bears travel to Detroit to take on the Lions. Unfortunately, they fall short. 31-26. The Lions take it. They move on to 8-2, and they're proven to be a top team in the NFC. I think they're ranked second overall to the Eagles. And then the Bears, they just haven't been that team this year. 3-8. But they put up a good fight, and especially with Justin Fields coming back. If you were a fantasy manager and you streamed him this week, he did pretty well. 16 completions, 100 yards, 1 touchdown, and he's also getting it on the ground, over 100 yards on the ground, 18 carries. He just put the offense on his back. And DJ Moore had a great game as well. 78 yard or 96 yards on 7 receptions and a touchdown. Savvy Sav, did you catch this one here?
I kind of zoned out for most of this game. I was a little surprised the Bears were up, and I was like, wow, Lions are actually gonna take this L. And the last 4 minutes of this game, Lions just came out of nowhere. And props to them, props to that offense for not giving up and being able to come out with a big win. They definitely needed this to stay in contention and stay up with the Eagles, I think. Who would have thought, man? Lions at 8-2. That's crazy. They were one of the few teams to also beat the Chiefs too. So I think this is a good win for them. Taking care of a team they should beat, and that's just a great comeback. So overall, yeah, liking it. Who was the main guy in this one? David Montgomery or Jahmyr Gibbs? I know they both kind of went off.
I think
right?
Jahmyr Gibbs was probably. I think they both went off. I'm not gonna lie. I think Montgomery's getting closer to 55 to 60% of the snaps, but they're sharing it. You know what I mean? And I remember seeing an interview where Jahmyr Gibbs was basically asked what do they think as far as fantasy, and Montgomery went up to him and was like, "Hey, do you want this touchdown?" He was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Cool, get in there, go get it." And so it's cool to see them, taking turns and having complimentary backfield. And that's what you want as an offense, because they're firing on all cylinders, right? They have the deep pass with Amon St. Brown. They have over the middle with Laporta and maybe a more shallow route. And then, flats with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery up the gut. So they have a great offense going. And I think they're going to be one of the teams in the playoffs that are going to go far this year. And I worry about them deep in the playoffs just because I don't feel as though they have that experience. A lot of these guys haven't been in the playoffs or deep in the playoff run, and I think that will show later on down the road. But up until that point, they're killing it. And no one would have thought this 2 years ago, let alone last year. So good for the Lions. And we're seeing a lot more Detroit fans out and about now, which they're happy to show their faces.
Yeah, they're coming out of the cave. They're like, all right, we actually got a good team. Rodgers is gone. We can actually start to get something going.
Yeah. Thoughts on this one? Anything you want to add, Johnny B?
Man, dude, yeah. Who would have thought the Lions would be doing so well this season? I mean, what was their record last year? They won 2 games, right? Last year.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I think they had the worst losing streak for a while too.
Yeah,
So
man.
bad.
You think the Rams are wishing they would have kept Jared Goff? Looking at his stats.
Yeah, I mean, I think somebody just clicked at him, because I know he was struggling towards the end of his time on the Rams. Last year he struggled too, but I think once they beefed up the offense, and I don't really know what changed, but yeah, he's been very serviceable, and him and Amon-Ra St. Brown have a great connection. I think getting the run game going like it is now. Last year they had problems with Swift having some injury issues, and they couldn't really get stuff going. So I'd say that, and then I think the Packers having their downfall, it's someone had to step into the vacuum, and that happened to be the Lions on this one. So props to that, man.
Yeah, I think they just got all the pieces in order, right? Last year, they struggled with Swift with injuries, like you said, and then they had Amon St. Brown, and he was doing well. But for them to get such a great rookie tight end, and then add David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs to the equation, that just stacks the offense for you. And if they're going down and scoring, it takes the pressure off the defense, especially if you put up 30 points. So I would say the offense definitely keeps them in the game in this one. Sweet. We will move on to the Bengals traveling to Baltimore, taking on the Ravens. The Ravens come out on top 34-20 to the Bengals. They move on to 8-3, top of the AFC North, and the Bengals fall short 5-5 to the bottom of the AFC North. It was a close race, but it's starting to show colors in the AFC North here. I believe we talked about this last week, and I remember talking to a coworker actually about this game coming up, and saying, there's no way that the Ravens lose back to back in Baltimore. So I chose the Ravens on this one, but I think I chose them for the underdog on the other one just because I was hoping it was going to be a close game, but Joey B got hurt, and he wasn't looking too hot out there. He hurt his hand. I think it was about halfway through the game, maybe third quarter. 11 completions, 101 yards, 1 touchdown. I think it definitely puts a damper on any playoff chances that they have if he's not coming back. Joe Mixon, they really leaned on him towards the end. 16 carries, 69 yards, but it just wasn't enough to come back and beat the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, he's my fantasy quarterback, and he actually did really well. I was kind of nervous starting him just because the last few weeks weren't great for him. 16 completions, 264 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think Gus Edwards get it done on the ground. 12 carries, 62 yards, and an additional 2 touchdowns. Definitely proven that he's the lead back in Baltimore. Thoughts on this one, Savvy Sav?
Man, my heart goes out to Mark Andrews and Joey B. I had both those guys on the fantasy team, both started, and that's tough. That was definitely a gut punch. And yeah, man, the Bengals are probably done for the season, especially in that tight division. It's just too competitive, and without a solid quarterback like Joey B, then I don't think they have a shot. Congrats to the Ravens, man. They are up there as well. They are beating teams they need to beat. I definitely thought this would be closer. I had the Bengals winning this one, but because of injuries, I think that just that's just what happens. But 8-3 for them. Look like they're soaring high, especially after the Chiefs losing. So now they have the best record in the AFC. So yeah, man. Not much more to say. Just a tough injury riddled game, and man, Mark Andrews too. That looked like it was rough. I did see some reports that they think Andrews might be back in the playoffs. I guess the MRI confirmed it wasn't as bad as they initially thought. So
yeah, I
doesn't
read
matter
that
for fantasy, but for the sake of the team, we're still probably gonna all the help they can get, especially if they have to face the Chiefs at the end. Then, yeah, it'll be pretty important for them.
That'll be a good matchup if that does happen. Lamar Jackson taking on Patrick Mahomes. But yeah, I mean, I had Mark Andrews as well as far as a fantasy owner, and man, luckily I just went out and got Njoku, I think, for the Browns, and he seems to be Dorian's favorite target as far as the rookie quarterbacks goes. He's definitely getting some yardage there, but maybe something to look into if you're a Mark Andrews fantasy manager. But thoughts on this one, Johnny?
Man, it's tough to see a young, talented quarterback like Joe Burrow with these injuries. That wrist injury looked really bad. He couldn't even do the motion of throwing the football. So I think his injury basically spells the end for the Bengals. I think they're going to have a tough season going forward, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that wraps up week 11 recap. We had some great games to kind of recap and go over, some close ones, some Super Bowl matchups, and overall it was a great week for football. We're going to move into week 12 matchups and top action. We're going to talk about some primetime games, and then we'll talk about Sunday and Monday night games. Thursday night games. So a lot of football happening throughout the week this week, right? With Thursday being Thanksgiving, and then we have a Friday game, which typically doesn't happen. That'll be on Amazon Prime if you guys are interested in that. Check that out. And then we have Sunday and Monday night games traditionally as we do week in and week out. But we'll start off with our Thursday primetime games. We have the Packers taking on Detroit Lions. This will be in Detroit. The Packers are 4-6, kind of staggering along, and they're going to be going into Detroit taking on 8-2 Lions, which are on a roll. Tune into Fox to catch this game, but I guess we'll just go down round robin. Thoughts on this one? Who's going to win? And any brief comments on this? We'll start with Johnny on this one. The Packers and the Lions.
I think the Lions are for sure going to win this game. I'm really excited. There's nothing better than having some turkey and watching football on Thanksgiving. I'm really excited. And I think just judging off of the records, the Packers don't look like they're doing that well. And the Lions are on fire. So pretty sure the Lions are going to get this one.
Nice. Savvy Sav, your thoughts on this one here?
Yeah, man, I couldn't agree more. I think even though it's a divisional matchup, it's at home for the Lions. The Lions is looking pretty hot. Their offense is firing on all cylinders. I could see this being a close one. The spread's 7.5. I don't know, just with how the Green Bay was able to keep up with the Chargers in their game last week. I think they may be finding something going on with their offense. So I could see it being somewhat close, maybe within the spread. But I can see the Lions just taking it anyway. And they were able to make their comeback this past week. So yeah, I can see the Lions should be able to take this one.
Yeah. My thoughts on this one is Packers are traveling. It's Thanksgiving. On top of that, the Lions just play such a gritty style, football, and I feel like Jordan Love's a little bit timid, and his release is not as fast, and he plays a little timid. So I think the Lions win this at home, and their record moves on to 9-2. And I think this will be a good fun game to watch some turkey with the family and check out some football. We have a teams that play every year on this day. It used to be the Cowboys and Redskins type of game, but now it's the Commanders and the Cowboys. So Commanders are traveling to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. The Commanders are 4-7 and the Cowboys are 7-3. Let me know your thoughts on this one. We'll start with you this time, Savvy Sav. What are your thoughts?
I'd say this is a game where you probably want to take your afternoon nap. I don't really think this is going to be a fun one at all. Cowboys should be able to kick the shit out of them. I'd love to see the Commanders make it, but there's a reason why the spread's at 11 right now. Cowboys have been killing these bad teams. I don't understand their schedule, man. They get these lucky little the schedule right now. They played Giants, Panthers, and now the Commanders. So I don't think they proved anything to me since they lost to the Eagles. They're just beating up on bad teams like they should. But yeah, I'm not that excited for this one at all. I mean, it's always cool if they start losing, which I think in the past they have lost a couple Thanksgiving games, which I was really happy to see. But yeah, overall, I'm not super excited about this one.
Gotcha. Johnny, thoughts on this one, Commanders and Cowboys?
Yeah, I think the Cowboys are going to dominate the Commanders.
Yeah.
Probably going to be a boring game, but
yeah, no, I would agree with you guys. I think it's the consensus around the clock here. Cowboys are definitely going to take this, and I think this is a game that they play each year, and they're on prime time for Turkey Day, and Cowboys have the record overall against Redskins / Commanders. So they're definitely going to take this, and tune in on CBS if you guys are wanting to check this one out. But it might be a game where you go spend some time with some family and maybe set some family time and tune this one out. But if you want to check it out, it'll be on CBS. Another great matchup, a divisional matchup, one that I'm definitely looking forward to are the 49ers taking on the Seahawks. This is, like I said, divisional matchup. The 49ers are traveling to Seattle to take on the 6-4 Seahawks. 49ers are 7-3. This is going to be a close divisional matchup, and it'll shake things up as far as the division goes. I'll start with Johnny on this one. They got close records here. So it's going to be a close game. What are your thoughts on this one here?
Yeah, I think this is going to be an exciting game. They got like you said, pretty close records. I'm going to say the 49ers are probably going to get the win, though. That's my prediction. I think the 49ers are going to come out on top and put the Seahawks at 6-5. So
interesting. Thoughts on this one, Savvy Sev?
Everything's telling me the Niners should win, but being at home, just coming off a tough loss against the Rams, I think Seattle might have that dog in them. I think they can come in here, start Zach Charbonnet, get the run game going, and I think they still have great receivers. I think Geno can step up. I know he's dealing with an injury, but I don't know, man. Something in me tells me that the Seahawks could take this game and make this divisional race close. I know you're shaking your head, Andrew, but hey, man, that's just me. I like going against them. I'm going against the grain. I want to see the Niners lose. I need them to go down peg. So I'm going with the Seahawks in this one. I'm riding.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna go against you here, and I'm gonna say the 49ers take it. They just have such a high powered offense, and Brock Purdy's been looking really good out there. And they just have the weapons between Debo, Brandon Ayuk. I think Brandon Ayuk has the best average per pass as far as yardage goes out of any NFL receiver right now. And they have great receivers. They have George Kittle as their tight end, and you can't forget CMC. So I think they just have the better offense. And even if they're traveling, it just seems to me that the 49ers are going to win it on Thanksgiving. So tune into Peacock and NBC to catch this game here. But that wraps up our Thursday primetime games. It'll be a real good turkey day to go out and catch some football and spend some time with the family. Following day is Friday. We do have one game on Friday. Tune into Amazon Prime to check this game out. It's going to be the Dolphins, which are 7-3. They're taking on the Jets. The Jets are not looking so hot. It looks like they're falling apart. I think Zach Wilson just got benched. The Jets are 4-6. So hopefully it's something that they can bounce back from, but it's going to be a hard uphill battle for the Jets. And I'm going to give it to the Dolphins on this one. Even though they're traveling, they're just the better team, and the Jets haven't been able to put it together. I don't think Wilson caught a pass last game, or if he did, it was very minimal. And they just couldn't get anything done through the air. Brees Hall was looking good on the ground, but the Dolphins have such a good offense between Tyreek Hill, Waddle, and so many other offensive weapons, right? So yeah, I'll give it to the Dolphins on this one. And Savvy Sav, give me your thoughts on the Dolphins taking on the Jets.
Not only was Zach Wilson benched, they put him in third string. He's not even back to second string. They put him in the third string. So that just tells you what they think of him and where he's at with that team. Yeah, Jets are just a dumpster fire. I don't see how they can do anything. The only hope is that you want to see if their third string quarterback can do something here. So I don't know, man. This is probably a game I'm not gonna watch either. I'll keep up with it for fantasy purposes, but I'll probably try to spend some time with family instead on Friday than check this one out. But it's just tough. I don't know. It's just they have the New York Jets playing in all these primetime games this year because they expected Aaron Rodgers to be there. So now we're just stuck watching this ugly product out there. So I don't know. What do you think, Johnny?
Yeah, man. I think the Jets, like you said, the Jets are trash. Never a good sign when you're talking third string quarterbacks. And the Dolphins with their win against the Raiders this past week, they've got that momentum going for them. So I think they're for sure going to get a win on Friday.
Yeah, definitely not the best game out of the lineup, but if you're a good football fan and you wanna keep up with fantasy, check this out. It'll be on Amazon Prime. Turning into Sunday night, this is a much better matchup in my opinion. We have the Ravens. They're 8-3. They're going to be traveling to the Chargers in LA and taking on the Chargers, who are 4-6. A little bit better of a matchup, and I think this is mainly because the Chargers have such potential in offensively, but they just can't get it done when it comes to the end of the game, the fourth quarter, right? Quentin Johnson had that pass that he dropped that would have set them up in prime field goal range to win the game last week. And it was just a little heartbreaking to be a Chargers fan. Sorry out there for you, Jacob. But yeah, I'd give this one to the Ravens. Even without Mark Andrews, I think Isaiah Likely will be able to step up and fill that void there. And if not, they have other weapons between Gus Edwards and Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers has such a burst to him that those little screen passes he can really take. And we saw it last week. It got called back, unfortunately, but we saw it last week where he took a screen pass for a touchdown for almost 40 yards. So I'm going to give it to the Ravens, even though they're traveling on this. But this is one that could go either way, in my opinion, right? And I think if I was going to pick a comeback game or an underdog game, it would probably be this one with the Chargers. We'll get into that a little bit later, but tune into Peacock to catch this one. I'll turn it over to you, Savvy Sav. Thoughts on the Ravens and the Chargers?
Man, I don't know how the Chargers are where they're at right now. Their team is, I don't know, their offense is so good, and I feel like they can put up points when they need to, but they just fall apart. I don't know if it's bad coaching or just, I think it's terrible decision making towards the end of these games. But overall, I still think this will be a fun one. I think it'll be great matchups wise when it comes to fantasy. So that should be exciting. I could also see a Ravens blowout like they did with the Lions as well as Seattle. Those were just they destroyed those teams, and I could see them totally stumping them here too. So, I mean, it could go either way. I want it to be a close game, but I'm also prepared to see a total blowout. I'll give it to the Ravens on this one, but it could be a sneaky win for the Chargers if they're able to keep up and hopefully make some good decisions. But yeah, overall, it just sucks for the Chargers. I wish that they would be better. I wish that the fans they deserve better, but this is the product
Yeah.
that they get. So
Yeah, I feel like they have the pieces, especially offensively. And Mike Williams going down definitely hurt them. But Quentin Johnson, one of the top rookies in the wide receiver class, is just not producing the way that we thought
that
he
was a
was. And
terrible drop that he had last game
yeah,
too. Like I think he's one of the worst rookie wide receivers statistically. Like he's not staying consistent and he's making some bad plays. So that sucks. We were excited for him earlier in the season too, but
yeah,
so it's time to step up and yeah, it's just not. It might be a rough first round pick that they had there. So I don't know.
yeah, definitely. Thoughts on this one, Johnny? Ravens taking on the Chargers at SoFi.
No, not much, man. I'm gonna guess the Ravens are probably gonna get the win. Although I want to see the Chargers win. So
Yeah, got to root for the LA teams, but yeah, it's gonna be hard. I think Baltimore is gonna take this one. Moving into the Monday night game, we have the Bears. They're 3-8, not the best record in the NFL right now. They're gonna be traveling to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Vikings are 6-5 after Joshua Dobbs taking over. He's had a pretty good run going on, but I think it came to an end last week. Tune into ESPN to check this one. I'm just gonna keep it brief and say the Vikings take this. And that's all I'm going to say is the Vikings win. They have the better record. And Joshua Dobbs seems to be their quarterback, and they got faith in him. Thoughts on this one, Eli?
Yeah, I'll say the same. I was on the Vikings last week. Sucks they lost. It's a very, very close game, but I
Very
think the
close
Bears will
game.
keep it close too, especially with Fields being back. Their kind of offense is back to normal and they're doing okay. But I just have more faith in the Vikings and them being at home. That crowd gets pretty crazy and it's gonna be a cold night in Minnesota there, but I think they should be able to take it.
Skull. Yeah, definitely. Thoughts on this one for the Monday night game, Johnny?
yeah, I'm just gonna echo what you guys are saying. Go with the Vikings getting the win.
Gotcha. Vikings across the board here. Tune into ESPN to catch this one. We'll do a couple other fun matchups. Real quick hits here. We got the Jags. They're 7-3. They're going to be taking on the Texans in Houston. Texans are 6-4. Very close game in this regard. Similar play styles, in my opinion. Right. Quick release quarterback type of play from Trevor Lawrence and CJ Stroud. He has the arm to throw it deep, and we've seen that last week with Tank Dell getting some good passes to him. He'll have Nico Collins back as well, so I think it'll be a high production offense game. This may be something that I look to a high scoring game from these two teams here. I would be willing to kind of take the over as far as the combined points here. I'd be interested to see what that looks like. But what are your thoughts on this one, Savvy Sav?
I'm excited for this one. I think the Texans were able to take the win last time they played each other earlier in the season. But overall, I think both these quarterbacks are on fire right now. I think these teams' offenses are looking hot, and yeah, it should be a high scoring matchup. I think the Jags are favored by 2, so it's going to be interesting. These guys are fighting for the top of their division right now, so I think this would be a huge win if the Texans get this. And I'm gonna say I think the Texans take it. I think the Jaguars, they are solid, but I see their cracks sometimes, and I don't know. I love CJ Stroud out there, and I think he's less mistake prone than Trevor
Trevor
Lawrence is
Lawrence.
sometimes. So I don't know. I'm gonna ride with the home team on this one and take the Texans. Johnny, do you got any thoughts on this one?
Not really, man. I haven't really been paying attention to either one of these teams, but just going based off of the record, I'm gonna go contrary to Savvy Sav here and say the Jaguars are gonna get it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, definitely a good game. I'm really this is a toss up, right? I think they both have real close records, 7-3, 6-4. On top of that, I think what it's really going to come down to is the defense on both sides of the ball. And I do think the Jaguars have a better defense, in my opinion. But I also think CJ Stroud has been on fire and definitely has the potential to be a better quarterback. There's games where he's putting up 350, 400 yards in a game, and that's insane for a quarterback. And he's doing it, he's doing it, not week to week, but definitely putting up over 200 yards consistently as a rookie quarterback, which is great. This one's hard. Dang. I, I'm gonna go Texans just because they're at home. I'm gonna go Texans. They're at home. CJ Stroud's on fire. But I think if the Jags defense can get to CJ Stroud and put some pressure on him and have him throw some bad passes, and in turn the secondary gets some turnovers, I think the Jags have a really, really good chance of winning because they're more consistent as a team. So that's my thought process on it. I'll take the Texans though. We'll move into the Bills and the Eagles. This one's a no-brainer to me, and I'm just gonna leave it brief and short. Eagles take it. It's at home. They're 9-1. The Bills are not the Bills that we've seen in the previous years. A playoff team. They're struggling to just be in playoff contention right now. So I think the Eagles take this one. Not too much to it. Thoughts on this one, Savvy Sav?
I mean, I got to go Birds on this, and I was more scared of this game early in the season, but yeah, just based on how they've been doing lately, and Josh Allen has been making a lot of mistakes, and that offense has not been clicking very well lately. So I think the Eagles should be able to handle it. I do like the 3.5 spread. I think the Eagles should be able to cover that pretty handily. And I'll definitely be watching this. This will be a fun afternoon game. I could see it being decent high scoring, but being at home for the Eagles too, they're 4-0 at home. They're looking pretty solid coming off that hot win against the Chiefs. And yeah, I just think that they move on to 10-1 and remain at the top of the league. What about you, Johnny? What do you got in this matchup?
Yeah, I think the Eagles are gonna get the win. I think the Eagles are gonna go. I think the Eagles are unstoppable. And I think they're gonna probably go to the playoffs and eventually make it to the Super Bowl and probably even maybe win the Super Bowl. So I got the Eagles.
Nice. Sir, I love to hear that. Love to hear it. Let's go.
Well, that wraps up our week 12 matchups, top action, and our preview for the upcoming games. Like I said, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, Monday, we got games throughout the whole week. And don't forget to tune into some of these fun Thursday games as far as Thanksgiving goes, and spend some time with your family out there. It's always good to spend time with them and cherish those times. We're gonna move into fantasy football coach's corner. Johnny does not play fantasy, so we'll just do a quick recap about where we're at with me and Savvy Sav as far as our team goes. I'll start us off because I know Eli will get into power rankings and things like that, but I'm in 4 different leagues myself, and proudly I can say out of those 4 leagues, I am first in 3 of my leagues, and I am either dead last or second to last in one of my leagues. And fortunately, that's the one I play and we talk about in this podcast. But 3 of my other leagues, I'm first, and I feel real good about going into playoffs and have a great record. And I feel really good about my team in all those leagues, and I'm stoked for those leagues. But I think I'm going to be making some trades and shaking up the league and seeing what comes with the league that I'm struggling in. Eli, how are you doing with your leagues? I know you're in 3 or 4 yourself, right?
Yeah, I'm in four leagues. Pretty much all of them I should be able to make playoffs. They're all doing pretty well. I did lose 3 matchups this week, but I was able to afford those losses. It didn't take me down too bad. But overall, yeah, feeling pretty confident with each of my teams. But especially losing Mark Andrews is kind of tough, and I feel like I'm gonna have to chase that tight end spot and stream where I can. But overall, feeling pretty confident going into playoffs. So it's in week 15 is when playoffs start. So yeah, man, it's coming up there. It's getting pretty close, and we only got 3 weeks left of our regular season, so it's gonna be a fight. Everyone's fighting for their spot. But yeah, man, overall, it's good fantasy season so far. Can move into just for our league specifically that we're both in. I don't have any power rankings that I'm gonna put up now. I might save that for next week because it's only been a week, so I'll update it then. But right now the projected standings at number 1, and I don't know if he's clinched yet, but Matt is at number 1. They project him to be the number 1 seed there, so he should get a bye, I believe. Michael at number 2, Tristan at 3, myself at 4, Edward at 5, and then Jared at 6. But 7 and 6 could switch. It just depends. That's just their projections. So Robert's right on the edge. I know he's kind of struggling because I think he just lost Joey B. So it's going to be a little tough for his team to make a comeback from that. And then Jacob at 8, Paulo at 9, and then Andrew at 10, sadly. So yeah, man, just a little projected standings for you and see where we're at. I'm excited. Once we get to playoffs, I'm sure we'll have more fantasy talk, and maybe we can even preview some of the matchups that are going to be there and who we might think will win and stuff. So I think it'll be fun once we get there.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. It's good looking into playoffs and seeing where we're at, and just taking some time to look back on where we've come and things like that. So we'll move into waiver wire, some notable additions. We're just gonna rattle off some names, keep it short, keep it brief. For the QB position, Baker Mayfield might be a streamer for Tampa Bay. Matthew Stafford, has an easy matchup going against Arizona. Hopefully he can bounce back and battle some inconsistency there. Running back position, Zach Charbonnet, he's the number one waiver wire pick this week. Definitely look into him. Ty Chandler, Minnesota. Cam Akers got hurt, and Alexander Madison definitely, shares the workload there. So it's a committee in Minnesota. Then Tajay Spears has really been taking some of the snap share from Derrick Henry in that regard. So maybe look into him as well. For wide receivers, I'll let Eli take it over from here. He'll go into wide receivers and tight ends.
Yeah, so Josh Downs still a solid guy. I think we've been saying him each week. If he's still on your waiver wire, he's just someone to stash and maybe throw into a flex when you can. Jaden Reed stepping up for the Green Bay. I think he's made a pretty good connection with Jordan Love, and he's definitely been getting solid production out there. Then Demario Douglas for New England. That's just someone, if you really need a wide receiver spot there, I wouldn't really want to touch New England's offense except for probably Ramondre Stevenson. So that's just if you want to pick up. And then for those who lost Mark Andrews, for tight ends, Isaiah Likely is the guy you want to pick up right now. He'll probably fill in that spot perfectly and should be able to still get some solid production out of there. But if you can't get him, then you also have Luke Musgrave and Cade Utton that are also available. I ended up picking up Cade Utton, so hopefully he'll do some production for me. He has a decent repertoire with Baker Mayfield. So, heck, if you lost Joey B and you lost Mark Andrews, you could try to pair it, have Mayfield and Utton with you on a team. So, something like that. But kind of just where I'm at. For those quarterbacks, too, I would say Baker, Matthew Stafford, even Dobbs, if he's still out. I know a lot of people picked him up, but I think those guys are all pretty solid to roll with if you can or if you need someone. Also, Geno Smith is sometimes available, and he's very iffy. So he's one of the guys you want to stream matchup wise. But personally, that's what I've had to do now for one of my leagues. I picked up Baker and I have Geno, and I'm kind of swapping them depending on their matchup. So you're going to have to play streaming for a while for the rest of the season. So good luck to all you out there. These injuries are rough, and do what you can. But speaking of injuries, we'll move into some of the things that happened this season or this weekend. Joe Burrow had a wrist ligament tear. He will be out for the rest of the season, which is very sad to see. We already talked about that earlier, but it's tough for the Bengals fans out there. They had a chance, but it's just a tough division, and they're probably not going to be able to make it that much further. Mark Andrews had his ankle injury. He is projected to be out for the season as well. So once again, that's a tough loss to see. A tough tackle too that he had. I think they pulled his ankles down, and that's kind of what got him there. So sucks to see. Aaron Jones had a hamstring injury, and he's probably going to be out for week 12. So maybe start AJ Dillon or don't touch that team. I don't know. I don't know what you want to do with the Packers over there. But yeah, just be on the lookout for that. Devon Achane had a knee injury. He kind of aggravated the same knee that he had issues with. So he's questionable to play. I keep an eye on him. It's a quick turnaround playing on Friday, so I don't know if he's going to play, but they'll probably let us know later in the week. Kenneth Walker had an oblique injury. He's going to be out for week 12, so that's why you want to start Zach Charbonnet. Cooper Kupp left early with an ankle injury. Luckily, it wasn't a hamstring, so the hamstring was what he was lingering on earlier in the season. So he's questionable right now. They're not sure if he will be back, but I would just say keep an eye on it by the weekend. See where you're at. And then Michael Thomas had a knee injury. He's placed on IR, so it's kind of rough for the Saints. But if you have him, just stash him in the IR now or drop him because we're getting close to the end of fantasy season anyway. So see what you want to do. Overall, yeah, a lot of injuries, and it's pretty tough. And this week's going to be weird too because you have a lot of guys having quick turnaround because of the Thanksgiving games and a Friday game. So if you're iffy on someone who may be injured and they don't know if they're going to play, make sure you put it in a flex, or you have to make sure you watch your lineup, because if they end up going out and you can't replace them quick enough, it could be kind of rough. So just definitely keep an eye out this week, because you have games coming up a little faster than you expect. But yeah, that's from the injuries. From there, we can move on to the best and worst performances. Johnny, if you want to take over on this.
Yeah, so top performances this week, we got Trevor Lawrence, 32.2 points, Saquon Barkley, 26 points, Jalen Warren, 23.5 points, Calvin Ridley, 31.1 points, Tyreek Hill going off with 30.6 points, Tank Dell, 28.9, George Kittle, 22.9 points. And then on the other hand, we have worst performances. We got Josh Jacobs, 6.1 points, Austin Eckler, 7 points, Derrick Henry, 5.4 points, AJ Brown, 1.8 points. That's tough. Jamar Chase, 9.2 points. Jalen Waddle, 9.5 points. Stephon Diggs, 6.7 points. And Sam Laporta with 6.8 points.
That's a lot of bad performances there. A lot of guys you expect to get a lot of good production on. The AJ Brown, I'm the most surprised by. And I mean, it was a good matchup, or tough for him to be out there. And Devontae Smith had to be the one to carry it. But at 1.8, that's rough. And it might have lost people some of their matchups this week. So tough on that. And then just noticing on the other side, Calvin Ridley finally has a good game, 31.1. I mean, you've been waiting for that all
Trevor
season.
Lawrence.
RIP to anyone who had him on the bench. I think Jacob left him on the bench. He still beat me by 1 point, but putting Ridley on there must have been rough to watch. So yeah, man, that's kind of wraps up the best and worst. Anything you noticed, Andrew, that you want to see? Or
Yeah, Jalen Warren making the top performances. My boy, he's putting the work and it's starting to show. And I'm glad that he's getting some recognition in that regard. Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley, they're really clicking, and they're both made the list from the Jags. Tank Dell, surprisingly, that just proves that CJ Stroud is that quarterback for them, that franchise quarterback. On the worst performances, man, Jamar Chase with 1.8 points. This is someone that you expect to get 20 points plus. And especially with Joey B out, it's going to be a real contributing factor to how the season moves forward with Browning. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Austin Eckler, 7 points. It's not what we typically see. Is another 15 plus point person. Josh Jacobs, he's a top 7-8 running back, and he's putting up 6.1 points. Backups are doing better than that. So it's tough to see some of these all stars not doing better, but that's just any given Sunday that it can really go for. But we're gonna move straight into shotguns. And with shotguns, week 11, we actually don't have any shotguns, surprisingly. So we're not calling anybody out this week, but definitely set your lineups.
Shout out to Edward. He finally submitted his for the viewers who are waiting. Edward did submit them. We got 2 of them back to back. So happy with that. Shout out to Edward for getting those into us.
Yep. But definitely set your lineups, because like I said, we have games coming Thursday, Friday, Sunday, Monday. So definitely set your lineups and be on aware for that. We are going to move into the betting segments, odds and ends. I'm going to let Savvy Sav take it away with the betting segment.
All right. So not the best week. I ended up going 1-2. The Bills -7 hit. They were able to handily win their game, but the Minnesota money line sadly did not. It was very, very close, but they just barely lost it. And the Eagles Chiefs over did not hit. And I want to say that's because the Chiefs could not score in the second half. So tough. That's just how it goes. But, still doing what we can. For the upsets that we had last week, my upset for the Cardinals winning their game did not hit. So I'm now 0-2 on my upset picks. Andrew was also 0-2 with the Bengals not winning their game. And that's his circumstance with injuries. And then Jacob's upset did not hit. The Raiders did not win their game. So for our guests, we're now 1-1 on our guests that we have. So a little rough, but we'll have some new upsets that we can go over this week. I'll let you guys get your words in order for that. I'll go over my favorite bets really quick. I actually did a quick switcheroo. I have the Pittsburgh Steelers winning -1 over the Bengals. I do really like that, especially with Joey B out. So hopefully that line doesn't move. I know the Pittsburgh offense has been kind of middling, but I think they should be able to take this one. So it'll be an interesting one. I decided to put it in Philadelphia last minute, -3.5 over the Bills. Andrew kind of talked it up too. I do think that's just a given. They should be able to win that at home. Should be able to win handily, I think, especially after the game with the Chiefs and how mistake prone Josh Allen can be. I think it could be a lot of turnovers and it could get ugly. So I'm liking Philly on that one. And then lastly, I like the Ravens and Chargers over 46.5. Even though I said it could be a blowout, I think the Chargers should be able to put up a lot of points. And I'm liking the over on that. So I could see a shootout happening there. But moving on. Oh, you guys have any thoughts on those
Yeah,
bets?
no, I want to jump in on this. Definitely Pittsburgh should win over first off a divisional game. They have the better record. They're the better team in my opinion. It'll be interesting to see how Pittsburgh plays with the new offensive coordinator and see what they put together as far as this week goes. I definitely think they can win over the Bengals. Philadelphia, like I mentioned previously, 3.5 over the Bills. The Bills are just not that team this year. They're fighting for playoff contention. The Philadelphia should take this one, no, hands down. And then the Ravens and Chargers. I think this is one that I had mentioned earlier, where it should be a little bit, high. It could possibly have a high scoring game, just because the Chargers tend to have high scoring games together. So I like all three of these. I think I would be most nervous about the Ravens and the Chargers, but other than that, I think these are all great bets to make and tail.
All right, nice. You got any thoughts, Johnny?
No, man, I think you guys got it pretty spot on. I'd say I'd, for the most part, agree with you guys.
Nice. So you're gonna take $100 and bet that parlay for us, right? All right, nice.
Maybe we'll see.
Got a lot of faith in us. Let's go.
put like $10 on it, Johnny. Just see what happens. Just see what happens.
Just write it out. See what you can get. So yeah, we'll move into the upsets of the week. So this is where we all pick underdog to straight up win their game. We try to do a spread that's at least 3.5. So I'll start. I'm 0-2, so this is another reach. I don't know if this will happen. I might go 0-3. Seahawks plus 6.5 over the 49ers. I made my statements earlier, but I think they got a puncher's shot and they're at home, so I'll give it to them on that. I think they may be able to punch them in the mouth and knock the Niners off on a good day for them. So that's my upset. Andrew, do you have your upset?
Yeah. I took this one a little bit of a different approach to it. I got the Chargers over the Ravens, 3.5 spread. On top of that, the Ravens are going to be traveling. It's Thanksgiving week. I think they're going to be a little distracted. It'll be in SoFi on a Friday. So I think the Chargers have a chance to shoot it out.
Sunday night.
Sunday. Sorry about that. Sunday. And I think the Chargers have a good chance of shooting it out and playing some good aired out football, while the Ravens they'll be running the ball with Joey B on the defensive line. I think they got a shot here. I'm gonna give it to the Chargers on this one, just as an upset here. We'll move on to Johnny and his upset of the week. Feeling a little ballsy out here with his pick. I'm gonna let Johnny get into that though. Who'd you have for your
man?
upset?
So I got the Raiders with the upset over the Chiefs, and my reasoning is I feel like the Raiders are a team who they'll lose games that they're supposed to win, and then they'll win games that they're almost certainly supposed to lose. So I'm gonna say the Raiders are gonna come out with a miracle and beat the Chiefs, but we'll see what happens.
A 9-point spread on this one, guys. But he's definitely getting a pick in here for this one. So keep an eye out for all of these upsets of the weeks. We have Seahawks over the 49ers at 6.5 spread, Chargers 3.5 spread over the Ravens, and the Raiders 9-point spread over the Chiefs. Yeah.
I think it's the second time the Raiders have now been chosen as the upset. I think Jacob had him last week too. So hey man, he's got to hit at some point, right? They got to win one of these games.
I don't know, man. I wouldn't have much faith in the Raiders in anything, let alone upset. So I don't know. It's hard being a Raiders fan out there, let alone choose them for your upset. We are going to move on to touchdown trivia of the week. We have touchdown trivia for week 11. I'll state the question, and Savvy, you can state the answer or the answers, and then the correct answer. We have which Charger holds the record for the most passing yards in a single season.
And the correct answer, or the answers are Phillip Rivers, Doug Flutie, Justin Herbert, and Drew Brees. The correct answer was Justin Herbert. So like the Eagles question before, it's just these newer guys who have been breaking these records for them.
Yeah, definitely. I think he did that within like 2 years ago or last year or 2 years ago.
I think it
2
was
years?
2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah. It was probably his rookie year, if not his second year in the league, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. I definitely think they have a franchise quarterback with Justin Herbert. I think play calling has played a factor into this season, but we'll see how it turns out within the next couple seasons for him. Moving into trivia question for week 12. This is a Rams trivia question geared towards Johnny because he's a Rams fan. The team the Rams beat which team in the 2022 Super Bowl? We have the Eagles, the Falcons, the Bengals, or the Chiefs. You can get a guess out there, Johnny. And we'll tune in next week to catch what the correct answer is. But do you have a guess for us, Johnny?
Guess I'm gonna guess the Bengals.
All right, Johnny's locking in the Bengals. Tune in next week to see if he gets it right, and don't forget to vote on Spotify and Instagram. So catch us on Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube, where you can catch us every Thursday morning. And we'll ride with you in the car on the way to work or on the way back, and just spend some time with us and talk some football. Other than that, I think we're gonna wrap it up. This was episode 14 of Touchdown Times, and I just want to do a huge shout out for Johnny B taking the time to come on air and talk football with us for an hour and a half, and just spend some time with us. So really appreciate the time, Johnny. Thanks for being on air.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Awesome. And then this is Alo signing off.
Sav, peace out.
Peace out, guys.